My boyfriend got married, and the bride wasn't me. I stood beneath the stage, watching him hold hands with another woman. He said he didn't remember me, but later, I clearly heard him tell her, "No one will bother us anymore." Chapter 1. I had a crush on Justin for 7 years, from high school to college. At that time, Justin was someone everyone praised, and I didn't even have the courage to get close, to be able to look him in the eyes, to stand by his side as an equal. I chased him for 7 years. The day I confessed and succeeded, I threw myself onto the bed, too excited to sleep all night. The long journey of unrequited love was over, and we began our relationship. I thought we would walk through life together, hand in hand, but after an accident, he no longer remembered me. He even avoided my touch. I kept telling myself, "You've chased him for 7 years, so what's a little more waiting?" His memory would come back. But that day never came. Justin got married. Chapter 2. The wedding was grand. Justin held her hand and carefully put a diamond ring on her finger. That ring was so beautiful, exactly the style I liked. As I watched from the audience, tears began to fall. I clenched Selena's hand, trembling. If Justin hadn't forgotten me, would I be the one standing up there? Selena's expression changed. She looked at me, her eyes complicated. She didn't say anything, just gripped my hand tightly. I immediately smiled and said, "I'm just joking. As long as he's happy, that's all that matters." Really. Chapter 3. Justin's wife is beautiful, completely different from me in style. From afar, I saw her complain about how high her heels were and how tired she felt. Justin chuckled, gently patted her head, and said softly, "Thank you for your hard work, my lady." Her frown turned into a smile as she placed a kiss on Justin's cheek. Before I could keep watching, Selena blocked my view. I guess she was worried I'd cause a scene. I won't cause trouble anymore. The last time I tried to help Justin regain his memory, it gave him headaches for days. I don't dare to anymore, especially today, on his wedding day. How could I bear to ruin it? I smiled at Selena. I won't anymore. I won't ever again. I just wanted to take one last look today. See? Justin is still as gentle as ever. That's nice. I can control myself. I'm just a little sad. Chapter 4. After the wedding ended, I sat in my seat, unable to get up. I had imagined my own wedding with Justin so many times. Back when we were together, Selena and I stayed up for several nights talking. We discussed which wedding dress to choose, what kind of bouquet would look beautiful, whether the wedding should be traditional or Western. We even excitedly chose the menu. Staying up late into the night, we had everything planned out, except for the fact that I wasn't the bride in this wedding. I tilted my head to look at Selena, reminding myself I had promised not to cry today. But as the ceremony ended, I couldn't hold it in. What should I do? His future has nothing to do with me anymore. Selena, I've really lost him. I couldn't say it. 7 years of secretly loving him. 3 years of being together. Justin had been a part of my life for 10 whole years. And today, in front of me, he was gone completely. I don't even have the right to say I love him anymore. Chapter 5. I cried. When I woke up in the middle of the night, I couldn't breathe as I stared at the moon outside the window. I took deep breaths, feeling a stabbing pain in my chest. It took me a long time to recover from the suffocating feeling. By chance, I opened my old high school diary, flipping through pages filled with the innocent yet intense emotions of those years. I sat on the floor, reading for a long time. When you're young and like someone, that feeling lasts for a very long time. So long that you don't even know where it will end. Chapter 6. The diary was old but well preserved. Back then, I had thought about showing it to Justin, but I never got the chance. As I carefully opened the first page, my eyes turned red. It was the moment I first met Justin. September 21st. Sunny. The teacher ran over time with the lesson, so I didn't get to buy the mushroom noodles I wanted. But I met a boy today, and he didn't get the noodles either. He looked familiar. Maybe he's from my grade. I've heard some girls in my class mention him. I guess he noticed me too, because he looked over and smiled. His smile is really nice. My heart started racing, and I quickly looked away. September 23rd. Sunny. I went to get mushroom noodles again today, and what a coincidence, I saw that boy again. He was a few spots ahead of me in line, and I took a few extra glances. Both of us got the noodles today. Later, when I went to ask a question during evening study, I saw him again in the office. Such a coincidence. He even looks good from the side. I paid attention when I got back. Turns out he's Justin, the top student in our year. He's really amazing. If I work hard, could I get into the top ranks too? September 27th. Light rain. It rained today, and I stepped into a puddle. My shoes were soaked, and I felt uncomfortable all morning. I kind of hate rainy days. When I entered the cafeteria, I brushed past Justin as he was leaving. He's so tall, I barely reach his shoulder. October 25th. Cloudy. I think I've unintentionally started paying attention to Justin's meal times. He always seems to prefer eating later, when there are fewer people. Is this what top students do, always alone? Today, I deliberately lingered in the classroom before heading downstairs, but I didn't run into him. I felt a bit disappointed. Oh well, I'll eat and then work hard. There's so much to study. The afternoon class will be tiring again. I must remember to wash my face before class to stay awake. November 8th. The monthly exam results are out, and the evening study session was buzzing with excitement. Many students secretly ran to the office to check their scores early. I overheard them saying Justin was once again ranked first in the grade. He's so amazing. I slowly scrolled down the list, but my name wasn't even on the first page. I felt a little discouraged. We're not even on the same page. We're both just people, but the gap between us is so big. November 11th. My favorite sunny day. After many days, I finally got to eat mushroom noodles again. And this time, Justin was right behind me in line. When I noticed, I started stammering as I ordered, my face turning bright red. It wasn't until I found a seat that I realized, why was I so nervous? It's ridiculous. December 1st. Sunny, sunny, sunny. I guess because I've been paying attention so much. I've started seeing him more often, but I don't mind. Justin prefers water over drinks and always goes to the supermarket to buy a bottle after evening study. I also like to hang around near the supermarket entrance for a while. It's probably the most relaxing moment of the day. I don't think about anything. I just let my mind go blank. Then watch as Justin walks out with his water, following a few steps behind him. Then I slowly head back to the dorm. Chapter 7. I wiped my tears. Feeling a headache coming on, it was unbearable. Back then, I always liked being in a crowd, subconsciously looking for Justin, as if seeing him could put my anxious heart at ease. At the time, I probably didn't even know what liking someone meant. I just wanted to see him. Seeing him made me happy. I realized I liked him in the second semester of my first year of high school. One morning, I overheard a few girls in class gossiping. A girl from the neighboring class was planning to confess to Justin. This kind of news always spreads like wildfire in high school. The whispers during morning study were all about this. I unconsciously tightened my grip on my pen. That was the first time I ever lost focus in class. At lunchtime, the cafeteria was packed with people. From the moment I walked in, my eyes were constantly searching. And finally, I spotted Justin in a quieter corner where it wasn't too crowded. It was very cold today, and his jacket was thin. His expression was calm as he ate. He probably doesn't know about the confession that's going to happen tonight. But even if he did, I doubt it would affect him much. Ever since I met him, whether he was giving speeches in front of the whole school or participating in any activity, his expression was always serene and composed. Nothing seems to stir his emotions. But I've been restless all day. I've been secretly watching the girl who's preparing to confess. Among all the ordinary girls in this monochrome high school, she stands out like a colorful butterfly, quietly fluttering next to the boy. Chapter 8. Justin stood there. The lights on the field were dim, and I couldn't make out his expression. I could only see him bowing his head slightly, quietly listening to the girl in front of him confess her feelings. A confession. The top student, Justin. All these hot topics together were enough to stir a wave of excitement in our otherwise dull high school life. There were a lot of people who came to watch the spectacle, and while I was mingling in the crowd, I was more nervous than anyone, yet I hid it better than anyone else. I looked like just another bystander, silently watching from not too far away, waiting. That moment, when I think back to it now, still feels especially long. It was also in that moment, at the peak of my racing heart, that I realized, I think I might have fallen for this boy. The word like, just two simple characters, was enough to set my youthful heart in a constant flutter. He was like a breeze that casually swept by. And when I came to my senses, I realized that, without even knowing when, that breeze had already swirled into my heart. Chapter 9. The girl's confession didn't succeed in the end. I stood a little closer so I could hear clearly. I heard Justin's response. His voice was low and deep, yet extraordinarily gentle. He said, "Thank you for liking me, but for the sake of our futures, I won't accept. We should focus our energy on what matters at this moment. Flowers bloom in their season. I hope my presence doesn't hinder you. What do you think?" His pace was steady, neither fast nor slow. His rejection was firm yet gentle. A boy like this, during the teenage years, is nearly impossible to resist. I was no exception. Chapter 10. In our second year of high school, we were split into science and liberal arts classes, and Justin and I ended up in the same class. I still remember that day vividly, walking into the classroom at the same time as him. My emotions were unsettled even after evening study ended. How could I possibly calm down? I no longer had to pass by the hallway and steal a quick glance at him through the window. I no longer had to search for his figure in the cafeteria every day. I no longer had to rely on the other girls in class to know about his daily life. I couldn't let myself appear too happy, but I clearly remember that day. My diary was filled with a whole page. Chapter 11. When he's in class, he's always so focused and serious. He can always grasp the key points of the lesson immediately. I worked hard to keep up with him, just to get a little closer. Every time the monthly exam results came out, I paid attention to the gap between our scores. Even closing the gap by one rank would make me happy for an entire afternoon. That meant I was getting closer to him, slowly but surely. Chapter 12. That day, I finally mustered the courage to say my first words to Justin. I asked him for help with a math problem. Justin was always incredibly patient with his classmates, and he explained every step in great detail. After he finished, he looked up at me and asked, "So, did you get it?" Without thinking, I nodded, but in truth, I hadn't understood. In the moment when I was near someone I liked, my brain simply couldn't function properly. After class, I spent a long time trying to figure it out on my own. When I finally looked up, I saw Justin standing by my desk, with a hint of amusement in his voice. He stared at me for a couple of seconds before saying with a smile, "Actually, I can explain it again." I was stunned and stood there for a moment before blurting out, "Huh?" Justin bent down slightly, took the pen from my hand, and before he started explaining again, he tilted his head to meet my gaze and said gently, "This time, make sure you follow my thought process and listen carefully." The sunset that day was brilliant, painting the sky red, and it also turned my face red. If anyone could hear my heartbeat, they would have surely noticed how excited it was at that moment. Chapter 13. In that month's exam, Justin and I scored the same in math. We tied for the highest score in the grade. I held my test paper, tears welling up in my eyes. All the hard work during that time had not been in vain. I didn't dare to disrupt his progress. The only thing I could do was steadily get closer, step by step, to wait for the right moment, to wait until I was good enough. Then, I would confess. Chapter 14. Unrequited love is a personal battlefield of chaos. In countless moments that Justin wasn't aware of, behind my facade of calmness, my heart was in complete turmoil, too messy to examine closely. But in those countless sleepless nights, just thinking of that belief was enough to keep me going. Back then, I always awkwardly used questions as an excuse to get close to him. He always managed to answer each question flawlessly. He remembered my name, and that alone made me happy for a long time. Evening study sessions were always my favorite, because that was when the teacher would often ask Justin to sit at the desk in front of the classroom. As long as I looked up, I could see him. Chapter 15. The best achievement I ever had was becoming the first person to knock Justin off the top spot in the grade. During that study session, everyone was talking about my outstanding performance. Only Justin sat quietly at his desk, looking at his test paper. Maybe he noticed my gaze because he looked up slightly, and our eyes met before I had a chance to look away. At that moment, something seemed to explode in my chest. Justin didn't say a word, but he raised his wrist and gave me a thumbs up. That simple and pure feeling of liking someone is still an emotion that's hard to resist even now when I think back. Chapter 16. In the second half of our third year, the pressure became overwhelming, and I had countless moments of breakdown. My grades fluctuate up and down. The head teacher called me into the office, and when I came out, my eyes were red. There weren't many people left in the classroom. Most had gone for dinner. I buried my head on my desk, and suddenly, someone tapped me on the back. That was the first time Justin came to talk to me. I looked up at him, and suddenly felt aware of my disheveled state, wanting to lower my head in embarrassment. "Lisa," Justin said softly, "I have something for you." He opened his palm, his fingers were long and well-shaped, and in the center of his hand was a small blue paper star. I was too stunned to react, just staring at him without taking it. Justin placed the star on my desk, leaned back against the table, and said calmly, "It's normal for your grades to fluctuate. Don't get too anxious. Carefully review the mistakes and focus on them. Practice makes perfect. You can do it, right?" It was then I realized Justin had come to comfort me. Being comforted by the boy you have a crush on, how does it feel? It's probably when you have tears in your eyes but can't stop smiling. I asked Justin, "Do you feel like that too sometimes?" Justin smiled. "Of course. When you knocked me off the top spot." I burst into laughter through my tears. I asked Justin if he had a dream university in mind. Justin said he wanted to apply to H University. H University. I silently noted it in my heart. That became my goal for the second half of the school year. Chapter 17. I placed that paper star on my desk, and every time I looked at it, I couldn't help but marvel. Justin's star was so beautifully folded. It wasn't until one day, by accident, I opened it and discovered a small line of writing inside. The handwriting was neat and elegant. "I hope you shine like a star." Chapter 18. The next day, when I opened my eyes, it was already noon, and I was still holding my diary in my arms. The page that was open felt damp. I wiped my eyes and realized my face was covered in tears. I had a long dream where I was crying the whole time. I kept crying, but when I woke up, I couldn't remember why. After tidying up, I noticed the rare good sunlight today. Selena was already in the living room. She had been staying with me this whole time. I wanted to reward her, so I decided to cook a meal. But on the way to the supermarket, I ran into Justin and his wife. I froze, unable to move, because I seemed to hear Justin mention my name. He said to her, "Lisa won't be showing up anymore. She won't bother us again." I stood there, frozen as if I had fallen into an icy pit. Justin, it seemed, remembered me after all. Chapter 19. I pushed my cart and walked toward them, but before I could get close, Selena pulled me back from the corner. She looked at me with concern in her eyes. "Lisa, what's wrong?" I raised my hand and pointed at Justin, who was leaving in the distance. I just heard him say my name. "Selena." My voice trembled. "Does he remember me?" Selena followed my gaze and sighed softly. "Lisa, you've shown up around him so many times. Isn't it normal for him to remember your name? He's married now, and even if he does remember, what can you do?" Selena's voice was calm, with a soothing tone. "You said you wouldn't bother him anymore. But what if he really does remember me?" Selena gently took my arm and led me in another direction, lowering her eyes as she whispered, "He won't." Chapter 20. That night, I had a dream. I dreamed of the night I confessed to Justin. Back then, Justin didn't seem surprised. He stood in front of me, listened to my confession, and suddenly laughed softly, leaving me completely at a loss for what to do. After a while, I heard his voice, tinged with amusement. He said, "It really wasn't easy, was it? Waiting for your confession." As soon as he said that, my brain completely froze. Ever since Selena figured out that I liked Justin, she had been pushing me to confess. But I always thought, just wait a little longer. Just get a little closer to him. Wait for the right moment. Wait until I'm good enough. Gradually, Justin started appearing around me more and more. Whenever I faced difficulties, Justin would patiently guide me step by step to solve them. Even when I was close to him, I would still find myself getting lost in thought. Flustered, Justin, with his usual patience, would lower his eyes to look at me, half teasing and half serious, saying, "Actually, I can explain it a second time." At that moment, I was instantly reminded of those high school evenings bathed in the glow of the sunset. It was also at that moment that I realized, after all this time of chasing after him, I was finally starting to catch up. Step by step, I had thought it was the teachers who arranged it, but later I found out that it was Justin who had taken the initiative to get closer. While I was working hard, out of his sight, to catch up to him, he too was quietly helping me grow, in ways I couldn't see, until I reached the same pace as him. Before, my understanding of the word gentleness was only a simple one. It wasn't until the night of my confession that I fully grasped the power of when gentleness and Justin intertwined. He told me, "Don't feel inferior. I want you to genuinely believe you are excellent. Not just look up to anyone, whether it's in studies or in love. You don't need to look up to me, you're already a moon yourself." It was only then that I understood the effort Justin had been putting in behind the scenes during this time. Chapter 21. After waking up, I couldn't fall back asleep. I stared out the window, instinctively turning south, quietly gazing outside. I stared for a long time, as if that was the only way to ease my sadness. Chapter 22. I couldn't help it, I had to go find Justin. But just as I was about to approach him, I hesitated. I stood on the other side of the road, watching the two of them, unable to take a step forward. Justin was carefully holding her hand, his eyes lowered as he looked at her. I couldn't hear what he said, but the woman smiled softly and gave him a light pat on the arm. The atmosphere between them was so warm and harmonious, leaving no space for anyone else. What role could I play if I went over there? I didn't know, but my head hurt. The pain was suffocating. Justin, how could you forget me? Chapter 23. The next day, I went to that supermarket again. Justin wasn't there, but his wife was. She clearly didn't like me, giving me a once-over with her eyes. It seemed like she wanted to say something but held back. Instead, she turned around and left. I stared at the diamond ring on her hand, and an overwhelming wave of sadness hit me, my eyes instantly welling up with tears. Chapter 24. After that, I often saw Justin and his wife together. I saw Justin bring her a bouquet of flowers every day. I saw her hold onto Justin's arm and ask him what he wanted for dinner. I saw them together feeding a stray cat. They looked perfect together. I stood there in silence, watching them for a long time. The urge to confront them gradually faded as I watched these tender moments. Maybe things are fine just as they are now. He has someone he loves, and someone who loves him. Chapter 25. Maybe because I appeared around them so frequently, Justin noticed. That day, Justin reached out to me. A simple message, "Let's talk." That day, it rained heavily, an autumn storm. I sat in a cafe, quietly waiting, watching as the rain started to slow. Justin finally arrived, much later than expected. He pushed the door open, his eyes scanning the cafe before they landed on me. His expression was calm, without a trace of emotion, so calm that it felt like he was looking at a stranger. I sipped the cold coffee in my hands, its chill reflecting my current state of mind. I had chosen this cafe on purpose. It was a place we used to frequent together. Even the table was the one we used to sit at. Justin sat across from me without a flicker of emotion. He spoke politely but distantly. "Sorry to keep you waiting. I was held up by something, for some reason." As I looked at him, he seemed so different from Justin in my memories. Maybe the only one who stayed in place was me. While everything else has changed, I should be the one apologizing for disturbing you again. Justin smiled slightly. "No need to apologize. I actually have something to discuss with you as well." When he said that, I knew that after today, we wouldn't have the chance to meet again. Yes, He already has his own life. How could I keep intruding? I had expected this. But when the day finally came, it didn't make the sadness any easier. I looked up at him. I just wanted to confirm one last time, you really. As the last two words came out, I suddenly felt a lump in my throat, and Justin's face across from me became blurry. I fought back the urge to cry. You really don't remember me? The Justin who ran through the rain to bring me an umbrella. The Justin who came to my building in the middle of the night just because I said, I want to see you. The Justin who quietly helped me grow. For the sake of my insecurity, how could he suddenly disappear completely? I could feel my emotions reaching the breaking point, and my voice was choked with tears. In order not to seem too pathetic, and to maintain some dignity for this last meeting, I forced a smile, but it probably looked worse than crying. As Justin frowned slightly, his gaze stayed on me, watching me quietly, but he didn't answer. Several times I saw him start to speak, but he swallowed his words. The silence said everything. The way he looked at me now was so different from the Justin I once knew. If I could, I would rather believe he lost his memory, than accept that he no longer loved me. After a long silence, I finally came to my senses and spoke softly. I understand. Thank you. I wish you happiness for the rest of your life. Justin seemed to finally relax and nodded slightly. You too. Chapter 26. Justin left. Outside, the rain began to fall again, a soft drizzle. I sat by the window, staring in the direction he walked away. I don't know how long I sat there. It seems like, from my memories, I've always been behind Justin, quietly watching him. I was lucky enough to walk alongside him for a brief moment in time. But in the end, I still had to let him go. Justin, you forgot about Lisa who loved you silently for 10 years. You told her never to feel inferior, in life. In love, you probably never expected that even now. Her heart still races for you, in every single moment that you're unaware of. If it were the old you, you'd probably call me a fool. But now, you feel so distant, so unfamiliar, that I can't even find the words to say. I just sat there, tears silently falling. How am I supposed to forget? Chapter 27. I sat there alone until nightfall. Just before the cafe closed, Selena rushed in. My eyes were swollen from crying, and when I saw the worry in Selena's eyes, I couldn't hold back the tears again. Selena, I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. I just wanted. Before I could finish saying one last time, Selena rushed over and pulled me into her arms. Her voice was choked with emotion. Why did you come here alone? How long have you been sitting here? You're wearing such thin clothes. Aren't you cold? She gripped my hands tightly. Lisa, I don't even know what to say to you. Next time, if you're going out, call me, okay? Don't go alone. Selena was always like this, standing behind me without hesitation. One last time, I forced a small smile. I won't go to see him again. Chapter 28. Whenever I mentioned Justin, the look in Selena's eyes was always filled with worry. She was probably afraid I'd fall into that dark place again. Gradually, I stopped expressing those feelings, and I stopped interfering in Justin's life. But it didn't make these days any less unbearable. Still, Selena never left my side. During breaks from work, she would take me to different cities to clear my mind. As long as I stayed busy, the memories didn't hurt as much. Sometimes, I'd look at Selena's back and suddenly realize that maybe things aren't so bad after all. Chapter 29. On the day of the first snow, I drove to Selena's building and called her down. Selena came rushing down without even combing her hair, looking flustered. When she saw me, she sighed in relief. What are you doing so late? I'm going back tomorrow anyway. What? I interrupted Selena, pointing to the trunk of my car. I gestured for her to open it. Selena gave me a suspicious look but opened it while mumbling. What is this? Why is it so mysterious? As the trunk slowly lifted, Selena's voice gradually faded. The light from the trunk reflected on Selena's face, and when she turned around, I could clearly see the tears in her eyes. Do you like it? It's for you. I had spent a good portion of my savings picking out some gifts that matched Selena perfectly. It took a while for Selena to process it. She looked up at me and suddenly burst into tears. Why are you doing this, Lisa? Thank you for being with me all this time. I leaned against the car, smiling. If it weren't for you, I probably wouldn't have made it through. That night, Selena was more emotional than ever, hugging me and crying her heart out. I know it's been hard for you lately, and as your friend, there wasn't much I could do to help. All I could do was stay by your side. I always knew you couldn't forget Justin, and I wasn't trying to convince you otherwise. I didn't plan to interfere with your decisions. I just wanted to make sure you stayed safe. As Selena spoke, she suddenly smiled. Lisa, you've actually helped me more. You're worth it. Chapter 30. Lately, I've been running around, trying to numb myself, and I thought I was finally forgetting Justin. But deep down, I still couldn't let go. That night, while watching a movie with Selena, I suddenly found an old, worn movie ticket. The date was exactly a year ago today. The day when Justin still loved me. We had probably planned to see a movie together. But now, things are different. The Justin of today, the one he loves, is no longer me. Selena's voice echoed from the front. She waved her hand, calling out, "What are you daydreaming about? The movie's about to start." I tucked the ticket back into my bag, like carefully storing away my feelings for Justin. Delicate, whole, buried deep inside. Undeniably, I still love him, in every little detail of my life, but I no longer have the right to disturb him. So, with every memory of you that I hold, I wish you happiness for the rest of your life. I looked up, meeting Selena's gaze, and responded. Coming. Chapter 1. Selena's perspective. It seems like Lisa is sick. She said she saw Justin. Justin has been gone for 3 months. My fingers tightened around my phone, growing cold as I asked, my voice breaking. Lisa, what did you say? Lisa's voice came through the speaker, calm and certain. I saw Justin right outside this bubble tea shop. As she spoke, her tone suddenly dropped, filled with sadness. But it seems like he doesn't remember me. Chapter 2. 3 months ago, the news suddenly broadcasted an extraordinarily moving story, along with a blurry video. It went viral on the internet. A boy, to save the girl he loved, bravely rushed into a fire. The girl was rescued safely, but under everyone's watchful eyes. The boy never made it out of that burning building. He disappeared from this world, along with the flames. In a time where love can be as fragile as paper, there still exists this kind of unwavering love. In an instant, the story evoked countless sighs and tears from people online, and the boy in the video was Justin. The moment I heard the news, my heart seized painfully. How could the world take away someone as gentle as Justin? But when I saw Lisa, I knew it was real. Justin was truly, forever gone. Chapter 3. Lisa had loved Justin for 7 whole years. Even as an outsider, I couldn't help but be moved by the depth of her feelings. The day they finally overcame everything and got together, Lisa was so happy that she treated our entire dorm to dinner. That night, she got so drunk, her face flushed as she proudly announced that she had successfully confessed her love. The whole dorm cheered for her, celebrating that she had won over her dream guy. After that, we often gathered together, planning everything: wedding dresses, engagement rings, even babies. Lisa's eyes sparkled every time she talked about it, but none of us ever expected that, in such a short time, Justin would be gone. Chapter 4. That was the first time I saw Lisa like that. She sat on the floor, like a broken doll. She wanted to speak, but her voice was hoarse from crying. Unable to make a sound, she just kept silently calling my name. Selena, Selena, again and again, but she couldn't say anything more. I'm here, I whispered, trying to comfort her, but my words felt so weak that I even found it hard to speak. How do you comfort someone in this situation? I didn't know. I gently patted her back and cried with her through that long, agonizing night. Chapter 5. After Justin's death, Lisa fell seriously ill. Her emotions were constantly teetering on the edge of collapse. She hasn't cried much lately. Maybe it's because she's cried too much already, and there are no more tears left. She always sits by the window, quietly staring outside, without saying a word. That direction. It's exactly where Justin's accident happened. She keeps all her emotions bottled up inside. And during that time, I was extremely scared. I constantly took her out to help her clear her mind. She seemed to be getting better, even talking more, until today's phone call shattered the last bit of my inner peace. Lisa's emotional trauma is far worse than I had imagined. Chapter 6. Lisa was standing right outside the bubble tea shop, her eyes fixed on something in the distance. I followed her gaze and saw a figure that looked very much like Justin. But when he turned around, I saw clearly, it wasn't Justin. Lisa lowered her eyes, looking incredibly downcast. It seems like Justin doesn't remember me anymore. Lisa, I gripped her hand tightly, my voice trembling. What did you say? Say it again. Who is Justin? Lisa raised her hand and pointed to the boy. Right there. He's standing right there. But he doesn't remember me. In that moment, it felt like my heart plummeted into an icy abyss. Chapter 7. The boy's name was Eric. He stood a short distance away, staring at Lisa for a long time before finally looking up and asking me, "Is your friend sick?" "Yes." I nodded gently. "I'm really sorry for causing you trouble. I'll take her home right away." I handed Eric the 2 cups of bubble tea, apologizing again. Eric didn't accept them. He simply said, "Take your friend home." Chapter 8. I took Lisa to see a psychologist. Despite long sessions of counseling, nothing seemed to help. The doctor sighed, her tone filled with sympathy. Lisa has convinced herself that Justin is still alive. She's locked herself in a mental prison. She can't accept Justin's death, and her mind has formed a defense mechanism to protect her. She'd rather believe he's forgotten her and fallen in love with someone else than accept that he's gone forever. Chapter 9. I knew Justin wouldn't just disappear like that. Lisa had come back to life. She sat on the couch, hugging a stuffed animal, smiling brightly. I hadn't seen her this happy in a long time. She even crafted a whole story in her head about Justin being in a car accident and losing his memory. She clung to my hand, telling me she didn't blame Justin. He was just sick. She kept saying his memories would come back. She had waited for Justin for 10 years. A little more waiting wouldn't hurt her. She spoke so sincerely. I didn't even know how to break the truth to her. How could I start? Justin isn't coming back. Chapter 10. Every day, she would go to that street where the bubble tea shop was and wait for a while. Sometimes she would see him and want to speak but feared it would be too presumptuous. So she just silently watched. Sometimes, she would ask me, though it seemed more like she was asking herself. She would say, "How could Justin forget her? She's Lisa." After all, I had no answer, so I just patted her head and told her to be good every day. Chapter 11. The day Lisa lost control was when she saw Eric with his fiancée on the street. Her voice was trembling as she spoke to me. She said, "Selena, I didn't wait long enough for Justin to get his memory back. He's fallen in love with someone else. He's fallen in love with another woman. Right on that street." Lisa's voice choked with tears. I saw it with my own eyes. Chapter 12. I thought she would break down, scream, or run up to confront them, but she just stood there, silently crying, watching as Eric walked hand in hand with his fiancée, disappearing at the end of the street. After a long time, she murmured softly, "Justin, why didn't you keep your promise?" Chapter 13. Eric is getting married. Lisa asked me to take her there, promising she wouldn't cause any trouble or make things difficult for Eric. She tugged on my hand like a little child pleading for a toy. But in reality, she and Eric had barely spoken to each other. Her memories had become confused again. She had imagined Justin's wedding so many times. She just wanted to see it for herself. I went to speak with Eric and his fiancée, explaining the situation. They stayed silent for a long while before his fiancée gently nodded. They allowed Lisa to attend the wedding, as long as she didn't cause any trouble. Chapter 14. At the wedding, Lisa tugged on my sleeve and asked, If Justin hadn't forgotten me, would I be the one standing on that stage?" I wanted so badly to tell her that Justin would never forget her. Silly Lisa. Justin will always love you. But the man standing on that stage wasn't Justin. Chapter 15. The day after Eric's wedding, Lisa came out of her room, her eyes swollen and red. She told me she had a dream, a long, long dream. In the dream, she cried for what felt like forever, cried until she couldn't breathe. But when she woke up, she couldn't remember the dream. But, she said, pressing a hand to her chest and looking at me, it feels empty here. It hurts. I've forgotten the dream. I think I know what she dreamed of. Maybe. It wasn't a dream. It was a memory buried deep in her heart. A love etched into her very bones. Chapter 16. I've thought about Lisa's situation for a long time. And in the end, I decided not to tell her mother. First, because her aunt's health isn't good. And second, because seeing Lisa like this, I'd rather take care of her myself. No one understands better than I do how much Justin meant to Lisa. I want to pull Lisa out of this, but she's too deeply trapped. So deep that even with both hands, I can't reach her. Chapter 17. Lisa is probably trying to find Justin. She often runs out onto the street, but she never goes up to him or interrupts. I don't know what's going on in Lisa's mind anymore, but seeing her like this, it seems like she's even sadder than before. It feels like she's forcing herself to let go. This illness isn't any easier for her than facing reality, but I don't dare break it. At least in Lisa's mind, Justin is still alive. Maybe that's her only comfort, even if Justin doesn't love her anymore. Chapter 18. Sometimes I get lost in confusion. The pain of losing something after having it is much deeper than the pain of never having it at all. If separation is inevitable, why were we made to meet? Separated by life and death, yet unaware. The torments of life are varied, but the feeling of pain is always the same. I can no longer see the answers, but sometimes, I understand things with great clarity. The time I have left should be lived for the family and friends I love. After extreme hardship, good times will come. At the end of the road, something beautiful awaits us. Even if it's only a little, it's worth the journey. Justin's perspective. Chapter 1. When the fire broke out and the building was about to collapse. In that final moment, I felt incredibly fortunate that I could rush in and find you. You stood there in the flames, shaking your head desperately, trying to stop me from going further, but you were right in front of me. How could I turn back? Chapter 2. The fire was intense. The moment I rushed in, I had already prepared myself for the worst. I don't like doing things I'm not sure of. But this time, I couldn't calculate the outcome. I thought we could both make it out together. But pushing you out of the fire was the best I could do. Between the two of us, at least one had to survive. If there was only one chance, I would rather it be you. Chapter 3. I saw you cry. I know you've always been so stubborn. In the past, I taught you many things. This is the last thing I can teach you. You have to learn to let go. Lisa, you can see what I'm mouthing, right? Don't hold on to things you can't have. If you can't love someone, you have to let them go too. Your life is still long ahead of you, and I don't want you to be stuck in the past. This is the last thing I need to teach you. Lisa, you have to learn it. I won't get the chance to teach you again. Chapter 4. In this final moment, I want to say, I wish you happiness for the rest of your life. But I couldn't say it in time. I can't even see your face clearly anymore. The fire is intense, and the burning sensation on my skin is enough to drive someone mad. But it's okay. It's okay because I came. If I hadn't, it would have been you trapped here. Chapter 5. I never told you this, but I knew you liked me a long time ago. A long time ago. How could I not notice? The way your eyes burned with passion. Chapter 6. In these final moments, so many images are flashing through my mind, one by one, from high school to university, to when we finally got together. You were always insecure, and while humility is good, insecurity isn't. You're amazing and hardworking, and maybe you never realized it, but every part of you shines when you're moving toward your goals. A girl like you, very few guys could resist, and I wasn't one of them. In fact, the moment I realized I liked you, I was already prepared to confess. But the hesitant way you looked at me made me change my mind. Maybe I should wait a little longer. I didn't want you to feel inferior in this relationship. You wanted to work hard, so I decided to move forward with you. I wanted to wait until the day you truly felt confident. That's why, every day I waited for your confession. I was prepared. I was ready to respond after you gathered the courage to confess. With my own confession, I've always believed that the start of a relationship should be grand and official. And so was my love for you. This confession, our love story, was something I always intended to write with my own hands. I wanted you to know that you were never running toward me alone. I just reached the finish line before you. And I've been waiting for you here all along. Chapter 7. You once asked me, do you believe in reincarnation? I believe it exists. So don't be sad. You know me. I always like to be prepared in everything I do. That's why I'm always a little ahead of you. This time, too. I'm early. I'm preparing our home for the next life. Chapter 8. I was so focused on getting you out that I didn't have time to tell you. Lisa, I love you. You can feel it, right? Can't you? The end.